Hi, this is Rabbi Glenn Black from NCSY in Canada, and it is my pleasure to share with you a short Dvar Torah. In this week's Parsha of Nitzavim, we find perhaps the most famous three words in all of Torah. Lo b'shamayim hi, that the Torah and the mitzvahs and the opportunity for tshuva is not found in the heavens or in the sea, but it is very close for each and every person to be able to connect with the Kadosh Baruch Hu in the best way possible. Those words, Lo b'shamayim hi, were used also in a different context in the Gomorrah, which in Baba Metzia, that shares one of the most profound and interesting Gemara's that I have ever learned. The Gomorrah relates the story of a machlokas, an argument between Rabbi Elazar and the sages, regarding the purity or the tumah or the impurity of a particular oven. Rabbi Elazar held that the oven was in fact pure, while the sages argued otherwise, and there was a big dispute. Rabbi Elazar said that if I'm correct, then a carob tree will uproot itself and bring itself over a very far distance and show itself before you. And in fact, that's exactly what happened, and yet the sages were not impressed. He then said, well, if I'm correct, then the flow of water in this canal will flow the opposite way. And in fact, a miracle occurred, and the water went in a different direction than it normally flows. And again, Chazal, the rabbis, were not impressed. In a third attempt, Rabbi Elazar said, I'm going to have the walls of the base medrash collapse and break on us if I am correct and show you the power of my words. And again, the walls began to collapse on the rabbis. But Rabbi Yeshua stood there and told the walls to stop in their position. And in fact, the walls remained on an angle, never going back up because Rabbi Elazar said to go down, but never going all the way down because Rabbi Yeshua said stop. So the Gemara says the walls remained in that position for all time. And then finally, a bas kol, Rabbi Elazar says that if you don't trust me, then a voice from heaven, God himself, will verify that I am correct in my assessment of this particular oven, that it is pure. And he said, and a bas kol came out and says, yes, the opinion of Rabbi Elazar is correct, and we should listen to Rabbi Elazar. And the rabbis say, no way, Jose. At the end, Rabbi Yeshua steps up and he says, Lo b'shamayim hi. The Torah is no longer in the heavens. It was once given to it was given to Bnei Israel, to the Jewish people. It is no longer in God's sphere, and it is in the hands of human beings, of the rabbis, to determine what is right and what is wrong. So that's a beautiful story. You can look it up. It's Baba Metzia, Nun Tes 59. It begins on the first side, continues on the second side. Here's a couple of questions that we have, and hopefully we can learn something from that. Why does Rabbi Elazar pick the carob tree, the water, the walls as his proof? And why after that he brings a carob tree they reject it? And that incredible miracle, why does he continue? What's happening? So Rabbi Elazar, I believe, and I saw this idea by the Vilna Gaon, believed that maybe perhaps Chazal were really testing his abilities as a great sage, that they weren't just rejecting his opinion, that perhaps on a certain level they're rejecting him. Did he have the right stuff to be the kind of person that they should subscribe to his opinion, even with all the miracles? So the rabbis teach us an amazing thing, again based on the idea of the Vilna Gaon. What were the three things that Rabbi Elazar brought to the table, so to speak? The first thing, he brought the carob. What is carob? Carob is a very, very tough, simple food. Rabbi Chanina in the Gomorrah in Brachos talks about that he lived on one carob from 1 week to the next. Excuse me. And the Parshat in Pirkei Avos says that a person should live off bread and salt and minimal of food, and that's how a person sustains himself in this world. Minimalistic, bare necessities. That if you have too much, too many of this and too many of that. If you live in the world of the gashmis, of the materialistic, you'll never be a great sage. You'll never be a great person. So the first thing that Rabbi Elazar wanted to show the Chazal was that the rabbis was that he himself, he was living with the bare necessities. He was willing to become that person, and he was already personifying that element of being a great sage. And the second element, the second key to acquiring Torah is anivus, is modesty. Water is considered modest. It starts in a very high place and it always flows in a downward place. It stays itself, no matter what happens to it, it remains water, and it doesn't take on the elements of outside things. Water runs from high places and then comes to rest in low places. So too Torah moves away from high or haughty people and goes down to low people. So Rabbi Elazar wanted to show the Chazal that he was a humble person, even though he had the capacity to do all these miracles. And the third key to sustaining Torah in this world, and why Rabbi Elazar was showing yet this example, was the idea that the Beis HaMedrash walls would come down, which is representative of diligence, hasmada. That he wanted to show his commitment, that he stayed in the Beis HaMedrash day in and day out, no matter what. He was learning diligently, and he had the capacity to study, and he brought himself to a high level in his observance, and his energy and his level of Torah was the greatest that he could achieve. Rabbi Elazar taught us all, even though he was not accepted by the Chazal, the sages of his generation, but he did teach us the three keys of commitment, of the bare necessities of life, to have a life full of Torah, to have an understanding of modesty and humility with the water, and to be an individual that is totally committed to limud Torah, to studying it and to living it. And through those three things, those three elements, each and every one of us, as we come closer to the Yom Niraim and Rosh Hashanah, we should all try to take that in and to become better people, to learn. Even though he wasn't accepted, we still learn his message, of Rabbi Elazar's message, and we learn, of course, the importance of every single person contributing in their way to the betterment and the development of Torah. Thank you very much for listening.